2. The little boy's triumphant proclamation must have been heard by the landlady inside the big house, for that evening we heard her talking in front of the neighbor's gate. "How'd you like to have a cat?" The woman's dry voice was pressing. "It's just really too much for us," the voice went on, chatting blithely about how cats infiltrated the premises from every corner, laying waste to the garden, raising a racket on the roof, and sometimes even leaving muddy paw prints inside the house. The young housewife next door spoke in a voice both quiet and refined. One would think she would have been placed on the defensive, but after patiently listening to the 80-year-old's pleas, it appeared she had no trouble holding her own. In all likelihood, she could see the boy standing behind his grandmother and assumed he was praying for dear life. And in the end, it seems it was the old woman who lost out. I remembered that just 2 years earlier, when we'd signed the lease to rent the guest house from the old woman, there was a clause appended to the agreement stating that no children or pets were allowed. Neither of us especially wanted a child at that point in our lives, even though we were on the verge of passing beyond our mid-30s, and when it came to what are referred to as pets, neither of us especially liked cats, and the notion of owning a dog had never even come up. So you could say that based on the old woman's terms of occupancy, we were extremely well-suited renters. There are a few cat lovers among my close friends, and I have to admit that there have been moments when that look of excessive sweet affection oozing from around their eyes has left me feeling absolutely disgusted. Having devoted themselves to cats' body and soul, they seemed at times utterly indifferent to shame. When I think about it now, rather than my not being a cat lover, it may simply have been that I felt a disconnect with people who are cat lovers. But more than anything, I'd simply never experienced having one around. I had a dog once when I was a child. I felt my relationship with the dog was simple and frank. The tension felt through the leash between the one who obeys and the one who leads was refreshing. I must have been right around the same age as the little neighbor boy when I was living with my family in a row house which acted as a residence for municipal workers, though the row houses looked more like tenements in a slum than public buildings. I had only just recently gotten the dog when somebody up and stole it. Most likely, it was mid-afternoon on a Saturday or Sunday when my father noticed that the Spitz, which had been tied up outside in front of the entry, was gone. "Dog nappers," he grumbled, then immediately began trying to counteract the event. He stormed out of the house, taking me along, and we raced around in every direction in search of the Spitz, but there was no sign of either dog or dog napper. I remember clearly feeling that I shouldn't ask my father anything more about what had happened, seeing how he'd reacted when the dog went missing. My older sister insists I cried all night long, but I have no memory of that. Although I myself did not especially like cats, my wife has an innate connection with all living things. From the time she was small, she would go out with her older brother to catch crawdads and salamanders and keep them in an aquarium. She says she even hatched butterflies of all kinds. They would fly around her room. She kept various kinds of birds, finches and canaries, and had also raised chicks. She'd cared for baby birds that had fallen out of the nest as well, and even nursed wounded bats back to health. Even now, she would turn on the TV to a nature program and could correctly name all of the animals, even rare species in faraway countries. In my wife's case, what I mean by not liking cats is something of an entirely different order than her husband's attitude, since all her life she had engaged with a variety of animals with the same level of interest.